as I was listening to my friend, Senator Penrose, I thought he had gone to Baptist preacher school for a second because he said he was going to close at least 3 times. I didn't recognize him from my seminary class, but I guess it's just something that comes with being from the Western States.
That's right.
So I want to thank the Press Club for having us here. It's greatly appreciated to have an opportunity to speak to all of you at one assembled point. I hope that we can do this throughout the session. That way I don't have to worry about all of you calling at different times. We can just coordinate one time, and we can all speak together like once a year. I think I have broad bipartisan support for that. But it really is a pleasure to serve with and to share the podium with my friend, the Senate President, who's also my constituent and lives about 10 blocks from me, my fellow agriculturalist, Senator Penrose, and my friend, the Assistant Minority Leader, Representative Carroll. I think we're going to have a good session, at least in terms of interpersonal relationships at the very least, because we all do genuinely like each other and have a good relationship with each other, which I think is important in the legislative cycle and the legislative process, simply because if we know each other and we're friends with each other, we can have vigorous debate, but that vigorous debate is always tempered by the fact that we know that we have to go and have a relationship with that person after we've had that debate. And I think that's an important thing to remember, because public policy disputes should not lead to personal animosity, in my opinion. And we're going to work hard to ensure that our public policy differences don't become personal, and that they are focused squarely on the fact that they're legitimate policy debates that we have between one another. But we also have a place where common ground can come together, and we can find those places and work from those places as well. And I think that's what we'll do this next year. And not saying that we're never going to disagree with each other, but I think when you look at the votes generally, there are a lot of 62-3 votes. Actually, that's changed in the House since the Representative Schulteis has gone to the Senate. We have a lot of 64-1 votes. We used to have a lot of 64-1 votes, but now it's like 63-2. But with Representative Lundberg possibly going to the Senate, we may have more 65 nil votes. So I'm not sure how that's going to work out. But in the House, stop. That's the bad table there. That is the bad table. That is the bad table. But going into the 67th General Assembly, the agenda of the House can pretty much be summed up in one phrase, is that we want to expand the circle of opportunity in the state of Colorado to ensure that every single person in the state of Colorado has an opportunity to be successful. And that may sound a little strange considering the fact that we're in the middle of an economic downturn. We're in the middle of what some people would call an economic crisis, and we have increased levels of foreclosure. Our jobless rate increased in Colorado dramatically over this past year to 5.7%, and will probably increase some more. It's probably difficult to talk about expanding the circle of opportunity when we know that we're probably going to get an economic forecast on Friday, which shows that we've had a downturn in our sales tax, a downturn in revenue both at the state and local level, and things don't look like they'll get much better in the future. But I firmly believe that when you have great challenges, it's an opportunity for us to do great things. And we have an opportunity in the state of Colorado when faced with the challenges before us, do some great things. We have an opportunity to really take a long, hard look at how we do government in the state of Colorado, and we have an opportunity to retool, reassess, and to make sure that the way that we deliver government services is strategic and directed at the problems that they need to be directed at, and not just direct government in a shotgun approach, but really direct government in a rifle shot approach to make sure that we provide services in the most effective manner. And we also have an opportunity when we talk about the circle of opportunity to include serious discussion about the state of our economy and the state of jobs in the state of Colorado and economic development, so that we're not just talking about benefiting a small group of people, but whether you live in Yuma, or you live out in Grand Junction, or you live in Creed or Walsenburg, or even in Montbello, you have the same opportunity to take advantage of economic growth when we do have economic growth and when we do have a turnaround in our job situation. So we're going to focus squarely on creating an environment where Colorado can maintain the jobs that we have right now, and we're going to focus squarely on creating an environment where we can create new jobs in the state of Colorado. I refuse to say that we're going to, the government, that we're going to create jobs, that we're going to have new jobs, because that's not necessarily our job, but our job is really to have an environment where jobs can be sustained and jobs can be created. And we can do that by reassessing the bureaucratic red tape that we have in the state of Colorado to make sure that our regulatory schemes provide for a consistent and predictable regulatory environment. We can do that by ensuring that the red tape or bureaucracy that we place on small businesses is not an undue burden. And we started some of this work last year in the General Assembly when we addressed the business personal property tax. We raised the exemption from $2,500 to $7,000. Last year we made sure that small businesses only had to pay taxes on one factor. So we went to a single factor test last year in the General Assembly. And we're going to continue this process of evaluating how businesses conduct themselves in the state of Colorado. There may be some instances where we need to reduce the regulatory burden, and there may be instances where consumers are not adequately protected. We may need to assess that and visit whether there's a need to increase a regulatory scheme on one particular industry or not. But the hallmark should be what we're doing best for the people in the state of Colorado, and not necessarily what's best for one particular industry, but the question is about what's good for the entire state of Colorado. And the other thing that we're going to focus on as part of this circle of opportunity is to ensure that we have adequate health care coverage for every citizen in the state of Colorado. We have far too many underinsured and uninsured people in the state of Colorado, and we need to take a long, hard look again at how do we provide the most adequate coverage to make sure that we have quality and affordable health care in the state of Colorado. I know there's some folks who want to talk a lot about single payer, and I'm actually an advocate of single payer. But what we need to also look at are those things that we can do right here and right now to reduce the cost of health care burdens in the state of Colorado. So we need to focus on preventative health care. We need to focus on expanding access to community and school-based clinics. And those are things that we can do right here and right now that have a long-term effect on reducing health care burdens on people and the cost of health care in the state of Colorado. And like my friend President Groff, I have a great concern with our education system in the state of Colorado for very personal reasons. Like Senator Groff, I believe that education is a fundamental right, a fundamental civil right that we need to constantly be focused on. And like a great president of this country, Thomas Jefferson, I believe that education is that one thing that takes the person born of low birth and gives them the same opportunity at success as the person born of high birth. And that's been completely true in my life, and yesterday I had the opportunity to speak to 984 students at Metropolitan State College who graduated in their fall graduating class. Many of them first-time graduates, many of them single moms who went back to school, many of them folks who come from great poverty but had the opportunity to go to college and be successful, and their college degree is going to allow them that opportunity. And we need to make sure that every child in the state of Colorado has access to high-quality public education so that they have the opportunity to go to college, graduate school, and beyond to be successful in our global economy. And probably the big issue that you all want to hear about, because we're all going to talk about it, but I saved it for last because in preacher school, you're supposed to always save your crescendo for the end of your talk, and that's transportation. And transportation issues are going to be the most important issue that I believe we'll deal with in this next legislative cycle. I know it's not the most, this is a PG-13 statement. This is not the most sexy statement or sexy topic that we deal with in the legislature, but it's probably one of the most transportation, how we provide for highways and roadways is the one government service that impacts the most people on a daily basis. All of us at some point have to get on a highway. All of us at some point cross some bridge. All of us at some point, like today, depend on how well the roads are plowed, and we depend on that bridge working, that road working, when we cross that bridge or we cross that road every single time.